You are Keola. The year is 1848. For months, the sound of axes, hammers, and saws has echoed through the trees along the American River. But today, something is different. Today, the work is finished. Sutter's sawmill is complete. You stand outside the mill and stare at the building that has consumed so much of your life. The great wooden water wheel turns beside the mill, driven by the cold water of the American River. Inside, gears begin to move. The machinery shakes. Then the saw begins cutting. A heavy log moves slowly toward the blade. The teeth bite into the wood. Sawdust fills the air. A few of the men stop what they're doing and watch. For months, you've carried lumber, you've lifted beams, you've repaired equipment, you've dug in the mill race. You've worked beside James Marshall and dozens of other men to turn an unfinished collection of timbers into a working sawmill. And now it works. Marshall stands nearby watching the machinery. For a moment, he smiles. You understand why. The mill was his responsibility. And there were plenty of times when it seemed like it might never be finished. But there is something else both of you understand. The sawmill may finally be complete, but the world around it has already begun to change. Gold has seen to that. A few days later, a rider appears on the trail. Someone calls out from the mill. You look up. John Sutter has arrived. He has traveled from New Helvetia to inspect the completed sawmill. Sutter dismounts and spends the next several hours walking around the property with Marshall. Marshall shows him the water wheel, the mill race, the machinery, stacks of newly cut lumber. Sutter asks questions. Marshall answers them. Eventually, Sutter stands inside the mill and watches another log move toward the saw. The blade cuts cleanly through it. Sutter nods. The mill he had invested so much time and money into is finally producing lumber. But you can see that Sutter isn't celebrating. There are fewer workers here than there used to be. Some have already left. Others talk constantly about leaving. Everyone knows why. Gold. After Sutter finishes inspecting the mill, you see him walking toward his horse. You know this may be your last opportunity. You call after him. Captain Sutter, you say. Sutter stops and turns towards you. Keola, he says. You walk over to him. For a moment, you aren't sure how to begin. You've known this man for years. You've worked for him at New Helvetia. You've worked in his fields. You've handled his livestock. You've helped build his settlement. And when Sutter needed someone he trusted to help James Marshall build this sawmill, he sent you. Now you're about to tell him you're leaving. There's something I need to tell you, you say. Sutter looks at you. What is it? You glance toward the mill. The mill is finished. Sutter gives a small smile. So it is. You hesitate, then you say, and I think my work here is finished too. Sutter's expression changes. You're returning to New Helvetia? You shake your head. Nope. Sutter waits. I'm leaving your employment. For several seconds, Sutter says nothing. Then he asks the question you knew was coming. You're going after the gold. You nod. Yes. Sutter looks toward the river. He has probably heard the same words from other men, perhaps more than once, but this time is different. This time it's coming from you. He says, I suppose I should have expected it. You don't answer. Sutter looks back at you. How long have you been thinking about this? He asks. Since the day I found it. Sutter studies your face. You continue. I've watched men leave their jobs. I've watched strangers come here looking for it. Every day, there are more of them. You look toward the American River. I know what's in that river. Sutter follows your eyes. Neither of you needs to say what you're thinking. You were there before all of them. You saw the gold before the crowds came. And now you have decided to take your chance. Sutter looks back toward the completed mill. He says, I needed this mill. His voice is then quiet. I needed the lumber. New Helvetia needed the lumber. You nod. That's why I stayed. Sutter turns toward you. I gave you my word that I would help Marshall finish it. And you look at the mill. And now it's finished. Sutter slowly nods. He knows you're right. For years, Sutter has depended on men like you. But California is changing, and there may be nothing he can do to stop it. Then Sutter extends his hand. You look down at it and you take it. Sutter says, you have done good work for me, Keola. His grip tightens. Not just here. Sutter gestures toward the mill. At New Helvetia, too. You say nothing. Sutter says, You have been here when I needed you. I haven't forgotten that. You look him in the eye. Thank you, Captain. Sutter releases your hand. Then, for the first time since the conversation began, he smiles. So, he glances, looking toward the river. You're going to become a gold miner. You smile. I'm going to try. Sutter laughs quietly. Then I wish you luck. He starts toward his horse, then he stops. He turns around one last time. Keola? You look at him. I hope you find what you're looking for. You nod. So do I, you respond. Sutter climbs into the saddle. You stand beside the trail as he rides away. For a long time you watch him. The man who brought you into this strange corner of California is disappearing down the road toward New Helvetia. You don't know when you'll see him again. That evening you return to your room. There isn't much to pack. A few clothes, a wool blanket, your tools, some food, your gold pan, the small bottle you've carried with you, the bag with other gold that you have. You hold it up toward the fading sunlight and look at the bottle. The flakes inside shine. Months ago, this little bottle represented a secret. Now the secret belongs to everyone. Men are arriving every day. They come on horseback, they come on foot. Some come carrying shovels, picks, pans, and anything else they think might help them pull gold from the earth. Some don't know anything about mining. Neither did you when this began. But you know the river. You know where the water slows. You know where gravel collects. You know where the gold has been before. And perhaps most importantly, you were here before the rush. You put the bottle back into your pack. Tomorrow you will no longer be working for John Sutter. You will no longer be building someone else's mill. Tomorrow, every shovel of dirt you move will be for yourself. The sun has barely risen when you step outside. Your belongings are packed, your bedroll is tied, your tools are ready. Behind you, the sawmill is already coming alive. The water wheel turns, the machinery begins moving, the saw bites into another log. You stop, you turn around, for a moment you simply look at it. You remember what this place looked like when you first arrived. There was no working mill, there was just unfinished timbers, mud, tools scattered everywhere, men shouting instructions at one another. Marshall trying to solve one problem after another. And somewhere beneath the cold water of that mill race, gold. You had come here to build a sawmill. Instead, you had helped witness something that would change California forever. You turn away. Ahead of you is the American River. Somewhere along that river is a place where you will begin again. You adjust the pack on your shoulder. Then you start walking. You don't know where you'll sleep tomorrow night. You don't know how much gold you'll find. You don't even know whether this direction will make you rich or leave you with nothing. But for the first time in years, nobody is waiting to tell you what job needs to be done. Nobody is sending you to a field. Nobody is sending you to a mill. The decision is yours. You are Keola. You came to California as a worker. You helped build New Helvetia. You helped build Sutter's sawmill. You were there and you discovered gold. And now you're going to go find some for yourself.